What is going on, everybody? And in this video, we are providing you a state of the market and stock picks for June 16th, 2022. Now, if that sounds like something you're interested in, consider subscribing as I do provide daily and weekly updates to get you prepared for the day and the week ahead in this glorious market that is guided by one man and one man only, and that is a Mr. Powell, who had a very historic day, dropping a 75 basis points, which is the biggest increase since 1994. If you would look at that one, it was a given coming last Thursday. Now, being said, last Wednesday, we were only expecting a 50 basis move. And because of the fact we thought we hit inflation, the market was starting to turn, the market was starting to rally. Then last Thursday, the ECB came out and started to change the whole dynamic of the market, laying out their asset, rolling off asset purchasing and starting to increase rates. And then on Friday, you got core CPI, which hit 8.6, essentially showing us that we haven't reached peak inflation, yet. So that was riding. We started hearing whispers on Friday and on Monday that there would be a 75 basis move, and so the market started to move. That's why we started to flush right after the ECB. The market knew something. Well, there was going to have to be more action taken, and so that led into Friday. Then you get a bunch of reports. The banks came out on Monday, just continuing to sell down to where that 75 basis move was. Although I believed that we actually corrected more of a 100 basis. Just in case Powell decided he wanted to do a 100 basis today, but he didn't. He did 75. The market didn't move much, to be honest. It wicked back and forth, which was a good thing because my thesis, it's essentially kind of solidifying my thesis that we were sitting around that 75 basis move. If you actually look at the chart here, we actually popped right back up to where that 75 was. I think right here is the 100 basis move, roughly around this area. And we popped straight back up to that 75 basis move. But then we sold off towards the end of the day. So that's really the question, is where do we navigate from here? The biggest concern is when Powell actually was fielding questions for a very long time today. I think normally he only takes like 10, 15, maybe 20 minutes, if even that. He was on there for a very long time fielding questions, trying to get everybody to understand. Again, he's very generic, saying he doesn't really know what's going to happen, but he's not taking anything off the board. From this point, he could dial back to 50, but they want to make sure that the inflation has got a good grasp on everything that is going on. So I think that's why the market is kind of left in limbo. Again, it really depends where we land. I think if we can stay here and we don't break down in the morning, I think we could start pushing back up and start hovering more so around that 50 basis move. My thing is what you're going to have to watch out is what essentially Powell laid out the plan that is going to allow more chop throughout the year. And given rightfully so, I mean, being in that position, you can even tell Powell's voice he was choking up at certain points. He was shaking. He was under a lot of stress, a very historical moment. And being said, that amount of stress, the world is hanging on every word that you say. And so you have to be very careful on what you say. And so being said, I sure couldn't do it, but nonetheless, the market currently right now, I think we could start getting a rally. And the next thing is what's coming up next, right? We got another big meeting. I believe it's next month, actually, and we have to see if we're going to come in at 75 or 50. Again, it's all going to depend on data leading up to there. But aside from there, we're going to start getting ready for earnings. We got about 2 more weeks, and then Q2 is going to close, and then we're going to start rolling back with earnings. We're going to start getting back in banks and kind of getting a better understanding, because a lot of the data and everything is very fudged, so you're not getting great numbers to really determine what is going on. Now, with that being said, you start really seeing it more so in the companies. Now, It's not saying every company is going to do well. What it's saying is that you have to look at your lead indicators. So I keep talking about your Teslas, your Apples, your Googles, because of the fact that if they do bad, if they can't pull this out, then the market is really bad. Now you have to understand too that Tesla just came out. They had great production numbers. I think it was out of China just a week ago. So Tesla is still doing very well despite everything. It's those ones that aren't innovating that are going to get crushed, and we're seeing that. All these stocks that were killing it a year ago, a lot of it was more so just a bubble. A good majority of it was a bubble. There was a lot of inflated numbers over the past 2 years, but now everything is normalizing. This is what happens during this kind of period. It's a very painful period because you're trying to normalize everything. That being said, again, we really have to see where we're at coming in, and so we have the earnings coming up. I think we got about a week or so. Once we get closer to the actual end of Q2, I think we start heading up and getting some sort of rally. I'm not saying we're going to hit all-time highs. I think it's going to be a while before we do that. So we're going to get these little mini rallies, 3, 4, 5 days. Our last earnings rally, I think, was actually like 9 or 10 days straight. I think it's a very strong possibility that's not going to push us up to all-time highs. But I think big tech is ready to start pushing up. I think a lot of your industry leaders are looking really good to start doing that. But the big thing is we have this breakdown. We haven't retested the 20 here after the break. We did break it going up. We held, and then we broke right back down through it. So this is just like the beginning again. You're going to get a strong rejection, essentially roughly around that 39.80 mark. So that's what I'm kind of see. We might be able to get a rally up to there. Hopefully, we haven't had any kind of bouncing. The most bounce we got was when Powell was talking. Again, overnight digestion is going to be really important in where we land. And so being said, again, I could see a short-term rally into this. And then you're going to get a hard rejection off that, and then potentially some sort of rally at that point. But again, we have to see the rest of the week. You need the digestion to see. Again, we don't want to break below this. We start breaking below this, then you could start sinking another 100 points from there. Again, you don't want to be grinding against 3,600. That's a really bad sign. We start doing that, potentially break that. It's a bad sign in the sense, we've already sold, but we break that. Yes, you broke a big support, but once you start breaking big supports like this, the odds of it coming down here and staying down here very long is very slim, especially on an index. I'm sure we'll get some sort of market sentiment that would start pushing us up. Again, the market is also very inclined to start rallying if it gets any kind of positive news. If we get any kind of positive news, I think we turn this thing around and start running. So again, that's the market. Looking where we're landing, I think we're going to hover back up. I think we're going to find our way back up to this roughly 75-point basis move. Again, we tagged it today. We sold back off. I think we're going to find ourselves back up here somewhere. Might take a day or two before we get to that 20 EMA daily. But once we do, again, you're going to get a hard rejection off that, hopefully a lower high, and then start pushing slowly back up. It's going to be a slow grind back up. For the most part, till we start getting some earnings under the belt that are showing that even though inflation's bad, we're still getting growth. That's what really matters. If we're not getting growth, we're going to be in trouble. Then you start talking about deflation and deflation. And start dealing with deflation and stagnation, and then that's going to be a big issue as well. So it's a very fine line to try to balance between supply and demand, define or balance between the Fed as well and everything that's going on with that. So just try to gauge inflation and then make sure everything is continuing to grow. So there's a lot going right now, and the main focus is inflation. So that's the SPX. A lot of info. Bitcoin holding the 2140 mark. Again, if we can rally somehow back up here by the end of the week, this would be a massive wick on a weekly. I said, if we can wick back up, that would be fantastic. But it could be a potential retest too. So if that is a retest, we hit it and reject hard, then we could see some more selling with Bitcoin. But we have to see. There's some other coins as well, like Cardano. that is doing very well and something to keep your eye on. As far as ETH and Bitcoin selling off, is Cardano still holding? So it'll be interesting to see how that whole aspect plays out moving forward. Now, Tesla, again, I'm not picking a lot in tomorrow. I'm more so watching the index, so it's going to be pretty quick. Again, Tesla looks like it's broken on the daily. To get a retest, really needed above the 720. If we can find ourselves above the 720, I think it'd be a good break on this trend line. Again, the market sentiment has to be there. Every break that we've gotten to is shot straight back into the channels. These breakouts are not working. You definitely have to take profit when you are in the green because these breakouts, they are very 1 2 day pumps and then they're just dying off. So again, once we get a grasp, again, the biggest problem we have is we don't have a grasp on inflation. So there's no way of knowing what exactly is going to happen. Until we do know that, again, you're going to get a lot of chop. You're going to get a lot of penny stock moves or pumps and dumps until it figures out what it's doing. But again, we have midterm elections coming up as well. We got earnings coming up. So there's a lot of different things that could potentially push us up. AMD could be an interesting one in the foreplay here. We could have a lower high here. This nice little wick, could be looking for that for push, but you got the 96.94 mark. Again, you got a clean break. You're going to get a retest. Now, do we sell on that retest or do we start heading back up? I do like ASML for chips. ASML normally plays pretty well. It does have this big descending wedge, which any kind of pattern this year just has not played out. So it's really hard to even talk about any of these because this would be a great play coming up. That would be your bottom that we hit. It did retest. We don't want to continue to dump down, but could potentially have a nice run back up to the 560. Then hopefully look for the breakout and the pop. 75% retracement, but this market, you're lucky if you get a 2% retracement after the break because it falls straight back into the channel. So that's pretty much it. I don't want to make this video too long. There's no point going over a bunch of tickers because of that fact. We have to see where the general market is. I actually can go over the banks real quick. That would be something good to go over because banks are important in this market. Again, we've had something we've talked about. We had the breakout. Could be a potential retest and start running. Typically, you don't have this big breakout and then big drop, retest, and then take off. But we have to see. I mean, again, you tried to retest the bottom part of this 116 and got rejected. Although the buyer started picking it back up. Again, you want to really keep an eye on the banks, GS. It's the same kind of pattern, break, retest right back into the channel. BAC, break, retest right back into the channel. Let's look at BA real quick. Value of BA has been getting a lot of good news, but it is coming back up to that support after the break. Does this reject? If this does reject, you could potentially see some selling. Maybe we got one more little bit of selling coming into tomorrow and Friday, just for digestion, to just kind of scoop in 100 to make sure we have that 100 points priced in, and then run from that point. Maybe we start our rally for the next earnings season. So have to see about that. But if you made it this far, I appreciate you. Go ahead and drop a like button. Until next time, I'll see you guys later.